might. I spoke not long ago about waiting seasons, and there's 3 different seasons of waiting on the Lord. If you want to hear more about that, that is posted up on elderson.org. You can see many of my morning devotions on there, along with blog posts if you prefer to read, but I have some videos on there as well that you can watch those. But so we was talking about seasons of waiting on the Lord, but this one is kind of a continuation, because once you've waited for the Lord, when you've been sitting on the bench for a while, and all of a sudden he calls your number, it's time to go in with all your might. It's time to leave it all out on the field and not hold anything back. And so when God calls us, he's been preparing us, he's been getting us ready, and all of a sudden he says, okay, I'm opening this door. It's time for you to go through it. It's time for you to enter your promised land. You need to be ready to go in with all your might, not holding anything back. It's very important. Listen, I had a good friend of mine that he was a great basketball player, and we'd play as he was growing up. I watched him get big. I was youth pastor at the time, and so I watched him play with us on the basketball court at the park, and he was head and shoulders above all of us, even at a young age. And he went on to get a scholarship in basketball. And after he had played in college, he came back home and was just playing a pickup game with us. And so his team was playing against my team, and he could have beat my entire team single-handedly. He could have beat my entire team all by himself. But instead, he was kind of, lollygagging around, just kind of not, really playing his full potential, just dragging his feet and half-heartedly even paying attention to the game. And so before you know it, we were scoring point after point after point. And then when the time ran out, my team had scored several more points than his. And he couldn't believe it. He began walking to the winner's side, because we'd play with the winners from this court, would go and play on the other court. And so he began walking to the winning court. And I said, whoa, hold on, bud. I said, I know you're great and you could have beat us all by yourself, but you didn't play that good. You disrespected my team by dragging your feet and not even paying attention. And so we scored this many points and y'all scored this many points. And guess what? Now you have to play on the loser's court. And so, but he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that he had lost. And really, he had no business losing. He was way, way better than we were in basketball. As I said, he could have beaten us by himself. But because he didn't put his whole heart into it, he lost. And his team lost because of it. And so listen, always go with all your might. When the Lord opens the door for you, go in with everything you have. There's no reason to hold back. There's no reason to hold back. Jesus told a story one time, a parable of 10 bridesmaids. You call them 10 virgins in some, if you're reading King James. But these 10 bridesmaids, says 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. And what separated the wise from the foolish is that the wise took their lamps when it was time to go and meet the bridegroom. And he came from his journey in the middle of the night, and so they had to go out to meet him, go and be ready to receive him into the wedding. And so those that were wise took their lamps and took extra oil with them. But the foolish didn't. They just took their lamps and the oil that they had in the lamps. And then they ran out in the middle of the night. The wise got up and they used their spare oil and refilled their lamps, and the foolish asked them to share with them of their oil. And they said, no, but you're going to have to go to the store and buy some more for yourself, unless we're all going to run out. And that won't be any good. And so here's the thing. Here's why they were foolish. They were holding back because they had the potential. They had the money in their purse. And they did go to the store and they did buy some more oil, but they got back too late. So here's the lesson. Don't hold back. They had the potential to go and buy oil the whole time, but they were saving that money in case if they needed it for something else, in case if something more important came along. There will never be anything more important than being ready for the Lord's return. There will never be anything more important that you can save up your potential, save up your strength for. Use everything you got for the Lord. When he calls your number, when he says it's time to go, be ready to come off that bench and to give it all you got. Don't hold back. Listen, when we don't hold back, there are great benefits to that. When we totally exhaust ourselves, we learn things about ourselves. We find out things about ourselves that we didn't know. It does really good for our spirits. It humbles us. Listen, I've been running 5Ks and 10Ks for many, many years. But a couple of years back, Amy and I ran a half marathon. And when I ran that half marathon, I found something out about myself. I found out my limits. I tell you, it really stretched what I can do. And then because we were in Disney World, I felt like I had to be in costume. And so I dressed up as Gaston, who was the villain on Beauty and the Beast. And so I was running with this big wig on, and I really overheated. I was sick at the end of that race. But I finished it. But listen, when you go with all your might, when you stretch yourselves, you find things out about yourself. And it really helps you to focus on the Lord and to realize, okay, I'm dependent upon His strength. I'm dependent upon what He can do. It helps you to stay in that right posture in your heart so that the goodness of God can continue to flow through you. So don't hold back. Don't be afraid to use everything you got when God puts you on an assignment, when He gives you a mission, when He calls your number, come out and just give it all you got. Don't hold back. Listen, David didn't hold back. He was being prepared for something. And you and I are being prepared for something. God has been preparing you for this. David didn't know it at the time, but when he was rescuing his father's flock from the lion and from the bear, God was preparing him to fight a giant. And he didn't know it until he heard that giant start yelling and accusing and shaming the people of God. Then something read up in his heart. And he said, yes, this is what I've been getting prepared for. And he ran down into the valley with all of his might and defeated that giant.